Good evening, sir.
Good evening, ma'am. Okay, shall we get started?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, though I feel somebody put a vacuum cleaner inside my mouth and sucked everything out. Um, So I'm completely bushwhacked. Hey, please, Maya. Sorry. Yeah, Kirti, you said you had a question.
No, sir. It's just a clarification. It will take just 5 minutes, sir. At the end of the class, I'll ask.
No, you can ask now. Then I'll go to the ask.
Sir, actually, uh, in our UG level, we studied about Aristotle's views on citizenship. We used to have a question on his citizenship, his views on citizenship. So, if a person has to obtain a citizenship, there are certain criterions like those who have the property, leisure, and one more thing, sir, I couldn't remember. So that person will be eligible for citizenship. And those persons like slaves, women, and prisoners of war who are dependent on masters or other persons, they are not eligible for citizenship. This is something I want to know whether it is true or it is correct or wrong, sir.
Well, it is correct and wrong.
Okay, sir.
So let me explain that to you. Uh, the idea of citizens being restricted is true. Okay, he's not looking at a situation where many people will be citizens. I mean, not many people. He wants a large number of body of citizens because that is for him one way of uh, establishing stability and not having revolutions. And the master slave relationship is not the traditional master slave relationship. Uh, it's a it's some kind of a mutual dependence. So, like I said this morning, there are some people who would say that what Aristotle was hinting at was not really slavery. Okay, it is a mutual dependency. So the problem is that since we read in English and we basically look at somebody's translation of these Greek thinkers into English, we would infer a lot of things which might not be correct. Funnily enough, today I was setting my books up, okay, because somebody is moving into my downstairs house, and Ernest Barker's book, I thought I had lost it, but turned out, uh, it turned up rather from among many books that were there. And I had a look at it. I read the introduction that Barker wrote for Aristotle's Politics. Since you raised that question in the morning, I thought let me just look at it again. And Barker is very, very clear, though he doesn't say it's mutual dependency. He definitely says that it is not slavery in the traditional sense of the term. Now, slaves are those who are deficient in their rationality. This prisoners of war thing is an interpretation that you take prisoners of war as slaves. That was more of a Roman practice than it was a Greek practice. Uh, Taking slaves from those who have been defeated. So that is a bit of an inference which Barker believes may not be accurate. Slaves are taken uh, because of those who know that they are not able to cope up with the demands that are being made on them. So, if you therefore look at that whole situation, it is quite obvious that there is no slavery. There is no slavery. Sorry, there is slavery, but it is not probably not uh, prisoners of war who are taken as slaves and rubbed into the ground. It's not that because it's uh, the master is actually taking care of the slave by doing his mental work for him, telling him what he should do for his own good and the good of his family. So he says that it is extremely unlikely that slaves were those who were taken from those who were prisoners of war. That doesn't seem to be sustainable in Aristotle. Sorry. The other thing that you raised, women. Aristotle considered women to be inferior to men. He didn't see them as uh, he didn't see them as rational. He didn't see them as capable of taking decisions for their good, for the good of the family. So, yes, women were not given citizenship. That is also very, very true. There's nothing wrong there. Uh, which was the third category you raised?
Slaves, sir.
No, slaves, we did. Slaves are not prisoners of war. Unlikely. That's what Ernest Barker says. It's very, very unlikely. I checked it up again today because anyway I found that book while I was arranging my books. I now only have one room downstairs and I don't have enough space upstairs to put those books. And since I'm giving that house out, the books were all spread out. I had to put them all into one room, and that has been literally a back-breaking exercise. But I discovered this book which I thought I had lost, and I have discovered that I have all the originals all original writings, right from the Greek period to the modern period. I have all the original writings, which I had read anyway. It was just a rediscovery of that. So, no, slaves are not prisoners of war. They are just not intellectually capable of taking decisions for a good life. Please remember that arete ethike, that is the basic principle, which is good life, morally sustainable. And so the slaves were there. He defended slavery not as prisoners of war who were inferior to those who were victors. That is a Roman concept. The Romans believed that those whom they conquered, they wouldn't treat them as equals. So if you look at the entire jurisprudence exercise of Cicero and Seneca, both the Senecas, Seneca the elder and Seneca the younger, you would find them trying to create two different sets of laws. One for those who were the, you will see that one is for those who are the Romans, and the others are the conquered people. They didn't enjoy the same kind of legal system. Now, Greek period wars were very rare, apparently, and whatever that lasted didn't last for a very long time. In fact, the only state that uh, actually was into wars, not state, I'm sorry, the police, was Sparta, because it had to defend itself even from the Mediterranean region. Okay, and Alexander was somebody who wanted to be a conqueror, and his conquering was, he didn't target the Greek police. He targeted other countries. He targeted all the Mediterranean regions, and he came right up to the borders of India. So there is no evidence of his having waged wars on other Greek uh, police, Poleis. Police, it is pronounced as the plural of polis. So that is, I think, apocryphal. Its validity is of doubtful nature. In fact, I would just go ahead and say that it is wrong. It is wrong because the prisoners of war concept doesn't appear in any Greek literature. Doesn't appear in any Greek literature. And if you have seen that movie, uh, 300, has anyone seen that film? 300?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So there were 300. That was the size of the army of Sparta. 300. They took on Xerxes, the ruler of Persia. The 300 took on. So that was the size of the the Spartan army. So they didn't have these big armies. They didn't fight wars. Yes, the Peloponnesian War lasted 18 years, but it wasn't a continuous war. It was not a continuous war. On and off they would fight. Finally, the Spartans humiliated the Greeks, but they did not take any slaves from, not the Greeks, I'm sorry, the Athenians, but they did not take anybody as slaves from Athens. They didn't. So I think that can be ruled out, that category. And his idea of slavery is not treating someone as an inhuman, or it's not meting out inhuman treatment to the slave. It is just meting out, some kind of mutually dependent relationship. That's it.
Sir, I think the third category is the children, sir.
Children, yes. Children were not citizens for the simple reason one didn't know if they were going to be rational enough or if they are not rational enough. Please remember, children cannot take decisions,
Yes.
and therefore they are not citizens. So the kind of citizenship that we have today is completely different from the kind of citizens that was there in the Greek period. The citizens of the Greek period were those who were those people who were capable of rational actions, rational decisions that would be for the good of the polis. So children are obviously not capable. So they had to attain maturity. I don't know, I couldn't find what age they were considered to have completed their minority and became majors. But children were not citizens. Yes, that is absolutely right. Women, children, and slaves are not citizens. But only thing is, slaves are not prisoners of war. They are just those who have demonstrated that their rationality is not as adequately developed as it should be. Anything else?
No, sir. It's clear, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Uh, so right then, we'll do behaviorism. But like I told you yesterday, behaviorism we are not doing it as psychology. Uh, Please remember that. Though it started in psychology, the roots of behaviorism are definitely in psychology, which is a more or less a 20th century discipline, because some people were called psychologists in the 1890s, but they were not very prominent people. In fact, nobody is a prominent psychologist, except perhaps for people like B.F. Skinner, and there was another name which I'm unable to recollect. So please forgive me for that. I don't want to waste your time trying to recollect that name. When it hits me, I'll tell you. I'm growing old. I'm growing senile. Uh, so we're doing behaviorism because behavioralism came out of behaviorism. Okay, so in a way, you can call behavioralism post-behaviorism. Okay, in a way. That's not technically accepted, but I'm just trying to tell you. Now, behaviorism differed from psychoanalysis. Okay, just let me put this because it seems to be a hyphenated word. Differed from psychoanalysis in the sense that I'm going to call this PA, psychoanalysis, tried to construct a grand theory of why and how human beings develop character traits and patterns of behavior. So if you look at people like the outstanding example of this is Sigmund Freud. He's really outstanding. Again, today while I was going through, I found that book, Origins of Religion. And I thought it's been a long time since I read it, so just let me read it a bit again. And Freud is a genius. There's absolutely no doubt that he's a genius. By training, he's a medical doctor, but his ability to build social theories based in psychoanalysis is something which is absolutely remarkable. Yes, sir.
Sir, what are the traits that a genius would have, need to have?
No, he's not judgmental there. Okay, he's not saying some traits are good, some traits are bad. He's not
No,
being.
sir. You said that he is a genius. So I want to know what are the character traits that a genius should have?
You mean what are the
Credentials.
traits that Sigmund Freud has, which makes him a genius? Is that what you're asking?
Generally, to you.
Yeah. So you're talking about the genius of Freud, right?
Yes, sir.
Why am I calling him a genius? What
Yes,
did
sir.
I see in him that I'm calling him a genius?
Generally, the word genius, what are the characters that a person should have?
No, you're complicating the issue. Uh-huh. Now, first and foremost, you must understand the word genius, Genius, had very negative connotations. I don't know if you're aware of this. Have you heard of this word? Genie?
Yes, sir.
Magic lantern? Rub
Yes,
the
sir.
lantern and the genie comes out. Genie is shortening of genius. Who is a spirit who will do even bad at the bidding of his master. So the original, this is the word that came out of the stories which are called the Arabian Nights. Okay, if you like, again, I found a book today on Arabian Nights. I'll give it to you. That book is full of stories of geniuses, how they appear at the bidding of a master, and how they would do all kinds of jobs. Bad ones were the most. So the genius, first and foremost, had no thought process of his own. Okay, he didn't have a thought process of his own. And the second thing is that he would do anything without seeing if that is good, bad, or ugly. He would do anything that a person who has rubbed the magic lamp is asking him to do. So, technically speaking, in its origins, genius is a mindless person, is a mindless spirit, not person. I'm sorry. Okay, but words mutate over time. They mutate over time, and because of the mutation, what we find is that genius acquired a positive connotation gradually over a period of time, and especially in the modern period. What they did is they took that part from the original meaning of genius, the ability to do anything, the ability to do anything or many things, though he's not doing, the genius is not doing it on his own, but he has the capability to do it. The only thing is he doesn't have a thought process. But if you ask him to do anything, he'll accomplish it. So that part of it, the mindlessness was left out, and the part that you can do anything or many different kinds of things, those things came to be associated with the word genius. So that is a mutation of meaning. Now, while this mutation occurred, you must remember there are no hard and fast rules. Like, for example, there is also another expression. Genius is, of course, just one word, but there's a phrase which is Renaissance man. Who is a Renaissance man? A Renaissance man is somebody who's not capable of doing one thing, but somebody who is capable of doing several different things. And one of the one of the highlights from among the Renaissance men is Leonardo da Vinci. Most of us have been told in school that he only painted the Mona Lisa, and that the Mona Lisa had an enigmatic smile, and to artistically uh, befuddled mind like mine, I didn't even understand what that enigmatic smile was. And I didn't see any enigmatic smile. That's a different story altogether. But he was not just a painter, he was a sculptor. He was a sculptor, which is again true of Michael. It's actually Michele Angelo, but we call him Michelangelo in English. Though Leonardo da Vinci, we call him in his Italian name, by his Italian name. But somehow when it came to Michelangelo, uh, it just got anglicized. I don't know why. Now, Michelangelo was a painter par excellence. He was a sculptor par excellence. He was a musician. He was a musician. So he could do these things. But Leonardo was one better. He was also somebody who had a very, very inquisitive mind, a very, very inventive mind. So Leonardo da Vinci decided that we can invent a contraption that will fly. And I don't know if you're aware of this. The drawings of Leonardo da Vinci are very much preserved. The flying machine, as he called it, those drawings are very much preserved. And if you look at those drawings, they look like a biplane. A biplane is that which has two set of wings. Okay, one at the bottom, one at the top. So the biplane apparently had something to do, though we credit the invention of flying and aircraft to the Wright brothers, which is probably okay. But the diagrams of Leonardo were definitely a source in the creation of an aircraft that could ultimately fly. And you must understand, he talked about engines, not engines as we know. He talked about how to power the aircraft to fly. So he suggests various forms of fuel, water, steam. Mind you, this is all pre-industrial revolution. Water and steel and all these came, they came in the industrial revolution. But in the pre-industrial revolution, Leonardo is able to do that. So when somebody is able to go beyond what is his basic, what is his basic, what should we say? In these days, we call it a profession. if you're able to do things outside of your profession, and if you're able to do them as well as you would, do your own profession, then you will be considered either as a Renaissance man or as a genius. Now,
Okay, sir.
please excuse me. Please excuse me. I'm not bragging, I'm just telling you something. Okay? A lot of people think I'm a Renaissance man. The reason why they think that I'm a Renaissance man is what is my profession? I am a political science teacher, but I can play the drums, and it's not, time pass drumming. I can play the drums pretty well, complicated drumming. I know music, time intervals, all those things. I know the theory of music. I can sing. I can play keyboards. I used to race motorcycles. I know the technology that goes into building a racing engine. I used to sit and work with one guy called Thirumal Roy. We used to put high lift cams, cold air intake to make the engine to get more power. So people used to say I'm a Renaissance man before I became this cripple that I am now. Okay, so those are the kind of criteria. Now I call, if you want to know the reason why I'm calling Freud a genius, is because Freud first was a doctor, but he was the first doctor to understand what we call psychosomatic lesion, which is, psycho is that which refers to the mind, somatic is that which refers to the body. He was the first doctor to understand that the psycho part, the mind, is probably the source of illnesses and not the body. If you read Freud, his medical thing, you will find that Freud made a statement way back then, which is supported today, except for a few diseases like infections and mechanical things like blocking of arteries and veins. Most illnesses we suffer are generated in the mind. So Freud wanted to study the mind to treat his patients. While studying the minds of his patients, he was able to come to some general conclusions about human behavior, triggered off by some common thought processes. What do I mean by common thought processes? Thought processes that are common to all human beings. So from that, he's been able to go to social theory. So somebody who starts off as a doctor, goes to social theory. So that is why I call him a genius. I know you were saying, okay, now shut up. I got you. Thank you. So I'm going to shut up and get on with it now. Okay.
No, sir.
Hmm?
No, sir.
No. I I got it. The way you were saying. Now please stop, okay? Please stop. That's what you were trying to tell me. Right. So that's why I call Freud a genius, and he deserves to be called a genius. And you will be amazed to know that Freud was consulted by the police. He was one of the first medical doctors. Today we call it forensic medicine. But Freud was one of the first medical doctors to be consulted by the police to try and find out what would be the mindset of a perpetrator of a certain kind of a crime. Like, say, who would be a rapist? Who would be a murderer? I'm simplifying it. He was asked more complex questions than that. And Freud was able to tell them, look for these things, whatever they may be, X, Y, Z. I know you're being impatient, so that's why I'm hurrying through. So, X, Y, and Z. Go through them. And the person who has those traits is probably the person who's the perpetrator of that particular crime. So Freud, and he was the one who talked about existential anxiety, which became the basis of two forms of philosophy. One is existentialism, both of the German and the French variety. The German variety is represented by Kafka, Franz Kafka. The French variety is represented by Jean-Paul Sartre. So he was there in phenomenology of Heidegger. Heidegger drew a lot from Freud. So you see, you're looking at all these social theories, social phenomena. All these things came from Freud. So that's why I called him a genius. Let's get on with it now. So, but Freud was somebody who was inclined to developing grand theories, which later psychologists, especially people like B.F. Skinner, please remember that B.F. Skinner is different from somebody that I'm going to talk to you later in the political science course. Quentin Skinner, these are two different people. Quentin Skinner is a political theorist. B.F. Skinner is a psychologist. B.F. Skinner was instrumental introducing empiricism into psychology. He was also influenced by logical positivism, especially that of Otto Neurath. If you want me to talk about these, I'll talk about them another day. I'm not going to do that today. But if you really want me to talk about these things, I'll talk about them. They're worth knowing, all these things. Uh, so he introduced empiricism into psychology and also positivism and logical positivism. Uh, those things, which is the notion of a science. He wanted to make psychology a science rather than a theory, rather than a theory. Okay, he wanted to make it a science. Therefore, he took recourse to empiricism, especially of the variety, the empiricism of not so much Richard Avenarius, but Ernst Mach. So, what is the contribution of empiricism to behaviorism? That is what we need to understand. The contribution of empiricism Okay, this is the main contribution of empiricism. No grand theories, nothing, no umbrella that is applicable, umbrella theory that is applicable to large groups of people or the entirety of humanity. No, it is not all that. Okay, it is not all that. You treat every single person as a unique individual. the corollary to this is, so what is applicable as diagnosis to one individual is applicable only to that individual and not to others. Okay, that is what they're saying. There is only one Akshay Punit. There will be no clones of Akshay Punit. There won't be people like Akshay Punit. People get angry with me, but not to the extent that Akshay Punit gets angry with me. Hmm? People get impatient with me, not to the extent that Akshay Punit gets impatient with me. No. So, Akshay Punit is a unique person. So, from this it follows, what happened here? Something terrible happened. Oh no. How did the font become big? As it is, I'm a techno moron. And why do these things happen to me? It's this lousy keypad that does it. From this it follows that every individual needs a different kind of attention based upon his, her unique personality, or if you like, you can also use the word persona. Please don't make the mistake of using uh, personality as physique. Okay, we Telugus, we have this habit of saying so and so is he has a damn good personality, which means you're basically talking about someone who has good looks, and that is the kind of thing that is meant by personality by most Telugu people. Okay, that's not personality. Personality is what makes you the kind of person that you are. Are you short-tempered? Are you patient? Do you come to quick conclusions about others, or do you take your time in judging who is who and who is not who? All these things become a part of the personality. That becomes the personality. Now, psychology deals, do you want me to continue this, or should I start that bit on Monday? Akshay?
It is your wish, sir.
No, it's not my wish. Let me, actually, I'm completely bushwhacked today.
Okay, sir, you can continue it from Monday.
I because I need to, what was I going to tell you? Yeah, the determination of personality. Please remember this, somebody, Akshay,
Yes, sir.
Kavya, please uh, remind me that I have to explain data collection about an individual to understand why that person behaves the way he does. Kavya, are you there? Kavya is not there. Kirti, are
No,
you
sir,
there?
I'm there.
You're there.
Yes, sir.
So remind me on Monday. Remind me on Monday, okay?
Yes, sir.
Hmm. Uh, who else is there that I should? Prashant, did you come?
Yes, sir.
You also remind me.
Yes, sir.
Hmm. Akshay, Puneet, Kavya, please remind me that I have to talk about collection of information or data about a particular person to determine personality. Will
Okay,
you
sir.
please? Okay. So, Padma madam, are you there or have you gone?
I'm there, sir.
Yeah, so you
Yes.
please collect feedback
Yes, sir. Sure.
along with Akshay Pantulu.
Yes,
Hmm.
sir.
I think Akshay Pantulu will collect negative feedback about me. He'll tell, "Hey, don't write good things, huh? Write terrible things about him so that we can stop him from talking so much." Hmm? Is that so, Akshay?
It is left to you, sir. Whatever you want to think, you can think about me.
I'm only joking, Akshay.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
only joking. Hmm? That's because of my affection for you. I have affection for all my students. Really.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, and I'm very happy when people ask questions. Seriously. I'm really, really very happy when people ask me questions. That is the best thing that can happen to somebody who's teaching. Being challenged, questions being asked, all those things are the ones that, thank you. Uh, all those things are the ones that make me happy. when you ask questions, raise objections, challenge my interpretations, all those things are what makes me happy. I don't know. I can't speak for all others. I can speak for myself. So with me, if you have questions, please don't hold back. Stop me wherever I am and ask me questions. Not a problem at all. Time management, I'll take care of it. Madam Kirti is a little worried that we won't have time to prepare for the exams. But if we have discussions, they sit in your head. You don't need again to study.
Yes, sir, truly.
So they are in your head. So 3/4 of your exam work is done through discussions. So, okay. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Please give your honest feedback. Please give your honest feedback. You can give it directly to me on my WhatsApp, or you can give it to Padma or Akshay, any of them. And my old friends from PG College, you are also most welcome. Anirudh, are you there? Anirudh, Anirudh, are you there? No, Anirudh is not there.
Sir, he
So,
was there, sir.
yeah, I saw him, but he's not answering. So, Rakesh, Prashant, Anirudh, Kavya, then who else is there? Durga Prasad.
Sir.
Durga Prasad, which class are you in?
Sir, BA HEP, sir, PG College.
No, second year or?
Second year, sir.
Second year. That's what I thought. So please give me your feedback. And Anirudh and Durga Prasad, please tell your friends. I mean, don't say this openly. You don't have very good teachers right now. If you have any doubts that you need to clarify, you don't have to wait for this hour. Okay, this teaching hour is different. I will give you more time if you need any clarifications on any other part of the courses that you're doing. Okay, Durga Prasad?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, Anirudh.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Anirudh, please tell your friends also. It's not just you and Durga
Okay, sir.
Prasad. Your friends can also approach me.
Okay, sir.
With questions. If I'm able to handle them, I'll handle them. And I'll do whatever I can. So thank you very much. I'm a little tired today, which is good for you. And so I'll see you tomorrow, being all kinds of races. There are 2 races. There's MotoGP race and there is Formula One race. Qualifying tomorrow. The races are on Sunday. So given that I will not be taking a class tomorrow, and I think you deserve a break from me anyway. Thank you very much. See
Thank you,
you.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, the MAs, I will see you tomorrow morning.
Yes.
But the others, my old friends from PG College, I'll see you on Monday. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Rekha Roy. I can now make out your voice. Yeah. Okay then. Bye-bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye.